Bassmaster Classic champion, two-time Angler of the Year, and Bass Fishing Hall of Famer. We have been watching the kettle that is Lake Seminole for a couple of days now, expecting it to boil. What is going on, Davey Hay?
Well, I think everyone's excited to be here at Lake Seminole. Like you said, so much history here. The first Bassmaster event ever right here. Jack Wingate's place down on the lower end of the Flint River. So much history here, and the part of the reason is great fishing, a lot of vegetation, standing timber. You have these sandbars, all the great things that bass like, and we have a lot of big fish here. We've had perfect weather, basically perfect weather, a lot of wind during the practice itself, but today is a perfect fishing day. And there have been good stringers, 20-pound-plus stringers every day, multiple ones, but everybody keeps expecting that 25 to 30-pound stringer. I still think it's going to happen this afternoon or tomorrow.
Well, I'll keep watching that kettle, but we started with 104 anglers, only 50 remain. That a look at your top 10. And really the story of this tournament right now is, are the fish coming to everybody else, or is Joey Cifuentes going to hold on and win this event? And I shouldn't even say hold on, because in many ways, walking away with this event, doing something totally different than the majority of the field. But let's get caught up on everything that's been happening on this storied fishery that is Seminole, and let's have a look at Mike Iaconelli.
Oh, Mike Iaconelli, when he's in the hunt, and he's definitely been in the hunt this week and last week also at Lake Okeechobee. He's so exciting to watch because, let's just say, a lot of energy and sometimes some malfunctions on his boat flipping there. He did land that fish. Having a great tournament here. Started out fishing on the Flint River, had a great first day and a good day yesterday. A lot more difficult for him yesterday. Moving around a little bit today, that place that he's caught most of his fish on day 1 and 2 seems to have dried up.
The Sleepy Assassin is doing what the Sleepy Assassin does and just quietly moving up that leaderboard all week long.
Yeah, Dave, you've got a perfect name for every angler that fishes the Bassmaster Elite Series, but none no better than the Sleepy Assassin that you're calling here. He absolutely just finishes in the top 20 like every tournament, it seems, and just kind of hangs around, and he's already won one event and certainly will have more to come. He's certainly hoping to do that tomorrow. Fishing shallow, a lot of Cinco, wacky rig type presentations for him. So different than our leader, and we'll see as this tournament progresses and it stays warm day and night if those fish stay deeper for Joey or more of them move in there close for Austin Felix.
Well, you got to watch out for the hack attack. Greg Hackney, I'm saying he's my pick for the Classic, but hey, why not go back-to-back?
Yeah, you might as well get a warm-up, the elite event just before the Classic. Greg Hackney, always a threat, especially when you see what you see right here around his boat, shallow water vegetation. He's got a flipping stick in his hand. He actually designed that flipping stick, a loose flipping stick with his signature on it, and when you see that rod in his hand, which we do most of the time when we have a camera on Greg Hackney, he is always doing well. One of the most feared anglers when you talk shallow water pre-spawn fishing that we have ever seen on the Elite Series.
Well, a lot of history makes Greg Hackney very scary to deal with, but this isn't old history. This happened last week. Tyler Rivette became an Elite Series champion.
Yeah, last week he held his first blue trophy over his head, and evidently he liked it a lot because he's hanging right in there in the top 5 going into today, he's having a great day today. Started out this morning with a 6-pounder. He's unofficially got about 18.5 pounds. I think that'll have him fishing tomorrow. And if he can do things tomorrow like he did last Sunday, starting out with a 7-pounder, I would not count him out to hold his second blue trophy over his head in just as many weeks.
Well, Cowboy's not often synonymous for doing real well in the playoffs, but this is different this week. We're semifinal Saturday, and your tournament leader, Joey Cifuentes.
So it's very impressive for me to see Joey fishing where he's fishing. I've been fishing Lake Seminole for almost 30 years. I knew the area where he's at. It has a lot of potential, but I guarantee you 3/4 of our field in this elite tournament fished in this area pre-fished because it's got all the things. It's great for forward-facing sonar. That's something all these anglers have become really, really efficient at using. Our last tournament was one using forward-facing sonar. What he was able to do is figure out the right area in Spring Creek, and surprisingly, to a lot of these anglers that are not fishing today that didn't make the cut that can now see, he's catching his fish between 20 and 22 feet of water on the bottom. And we're talking about all these other guys sight fishing and flipping shallow and catching all their fish 4 feet and less, where Joey is catching most of his fish over 20 feet deep.
And that right there is your Toyota Midday report. Now a 4-box Joey Cifuentes, Greg Hackney, Tyler Rivette, and Mike Iaconelli. A very good look at your tournament leaders on semifinal Saturday. Obviously cut our field down to 50. We have 10 anglers. It's all about staying in that top 10 here today. You just need a shot to get out there on Sunday. We hear that week after week. That's what every pro wants. And you see Tyler Rivette in the corner. He likes this catching. I mean, he's been always consistent. But hey, Happy learned how to putt. Why not just win them all?
Absolutely. And he feels quite at home. He won that event last week, catching most of his fish on a jerkbait, using the forward-facing sonar. But this is where he feels at home. Shallow vegetation is what he has fished his entire life. It's interesting to watch Joey in the top left. He's in the same area where he's caught most of his fish, and all of them that I've seen him catch have been on a drop shot. He's got that back in his hand now. But just a few minutes ago, we saw him using a jerkbait, fishing a lot shallower. And what these fish do in this area of the lake, instead of going to the bank, they actually just come up in the water column when they get close to spawning. So using a forward-facing sonar like I know he's using, he's probably starting to see some of these fish maybe come up in the water column. The good thing for him, though, I don't think most of these fish ever actually go to the bank. They just come up in the water column to spawn.
So you don't think they're leaving him?
No,
you got a bunch of anglers
That's
in this
why
field.
I say he is. Last week we talked about how Tyler Rivette on Lake Okeechobee, and we talked all week about how it's going to fish small, had something basically all to itself. Joey has the exact same thing, and I don't think they're going anywhere other than maybe up in the water column, and he's keeping that honest with that jerkbait here this morning. Dave, we keep talking about them coming up, and the temperatures are leading that. 70 degrees. I was in Brandon Cobb's boat this morning. We went out to check for fog. 70-degree water temperature. But I am a firm believer that surely bass are cold-blooded and the water temperature affects them, but time of day and length of day really has just as much or more effect on those fish coming in to spawn, and it's just not quite time for them yet. And those fish that are living on the bottom in 20 feet of water, they don't know the surface temperature is 70 degrees. I think length of day has more to do with it than the water temperature.
Well, I wouldn't argue with you. Check out Jonathan Kelly, an Elite Series sophomore.
Been out on the water around Jonathan Kelly some this week, and I don't know any other way to put it other than he's done a great, for where he's at and the weight that he's brought to the scales, he's done a great job catching every fish that's available in that area. He's got a lot of people kind of around him. He's just done a good job of putting those fish in the boat that he's been around.
So, riddle me this. With Cifuentes, we're seeing guys like Jonathan Kelly and all these anglers fishing shallow, and they're running into each other. Cifuentes is all by himself. Why is he the only one out there?
Well, I really think, because I guarantee you a lot of people checked it. And it's no big secret, especially with mapping today. You take a Bassmaster map and you see that there's a big depression where he's at, and that's an obvious place to check for all of these anglers. I just think he was evidently the only one that figured out those fish were on the bottom. I bet you half of our field fished that area he's in with a jerkbait or a swim bait, some type of bait that was, 12 feet to the surface of the water. And he was able to figure out these fish are still all the way on the bottom and fishing down at the base of those trees rather than up in those trees. But I also think, gosh, we love to throw frogs and buzz baits like you see Greg Hackney. I mean, just our nature wants to go to the bank, and most of these anglers, had enough bites to stay on the bank. And some of them just ended up having tournaments that you don't normally see them have, just not good tournaments because they never were able to find a group of fish that were shallow. Because percentage-wise, there's not a lot of these fish on Lake Seminole that are up shallow yet, in my opinion.
Cox hooked up.
Oh, man, he ate it like he was supposed to. He come running at it. Little fat guy. Yeah, not bad for number 2. It took a while. That's it. All right, let's keep moving.
John Cox, another one of those anglers who's done an awful lot with very little. He says it looks a lot better on paper. In the last 2 days, that's been his tale. But John Cox, one of the best natural anglers, and that'll look at your top 5. An aerial view map of that. What does that tell you, Davey Hyde?
Well, it really doesn't surprise me. Most of our top 5, 4 of the top 5, are on the lower end of the Flint and the lower end of the Chattahoochee.
That'll look at your top 10 atop the leaderboard. Joey Cifuentes, 65 pounds, 6 ounces. But you look at the cast of characters that continue to charge. It's a question of, has Joey found out exactly where they are? Are they coming to the other anglers? And the cowboy is betting on himself.